everybody, thanks for tuning in. My name is Pete, and in this video I'll be explaining the rules for Homeport. It's the Ultimate Shipping Team board game. Alright, so once the whole game is set up, you are ready to start. So let's say the oldest person would take the bank box, and because there's no buying and selling it, he would just pass it along to the next person. Okay. So very importantly, the buy, roll and sell tokens or action pieces should always be in that order. First you buy, then you roll, then you sell. The next action piece is the buy token. So during my turn to buy, what can you buy? You can buy ships and resources. So let's buy a container onto my ship. Alright, if I look at the price ladder, I see that it's 300 HP to buy a container. So I'll take my cash, give it to the person with the bank, and they would give me change. Alright, so I got 200 change out of a 500 for paying 300 HP for this container. So I've bought my container, it's now onto my ship. Just a note on that, the buying and selling is always from the perspective of a ship. So I would buy onto the ship and I would sell off the ship. Alright, so after I've bought my container, I can now roll. So the next action piece is to roll. So everything moves along. The bank would go to the next person, the buy would go to the next person. Now this person has the chance to buy, and I've got the chance to roll, and that can happen simultaneously. So the buy person can interact with the bank and I can roll. So I just rolled and I rolled 12. Alright, so I now have 12 moves to get my ship to the next port. If I run out of moves, it's tough. The ship will just have to stay at ocean until the next round. But this 12 I can basically divide into all of my ships if I have more than one on the table. At the moment I only have got one, so let's sail. So sailing basically goes from grid line intersection to grid line intersection. So from here to there would be one move, one ship move, and you can't go diagonally, and you also can't jump over the ships. Ships can't fly, so just sail around. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright? If for instance I rolled 3 only, then I would only be able to go 1, 2, 3 and my ship would be out at sea. Alright, so very importantly, each time you enter a port, you need to pay berthing fees. Now berthing fees are like docking fees. Alright, so you pay port fees to the bank, and in exchange for that you get a port card. Alright? So I picked up a port card, and on the port card you basically just have to read what it says. Now just to explain the port cards, there are 3 different types of port cards. Alright, there are the 3 different types. So first of all, you have a pay now and keep the card. Secondly, you've got a receive now and return card. Play when needed. And then return card, it's receive 500 discount off your next ship purchase during your turn to buy. Awesome. Alright, so with these cards you basically just have to do what they say. If it says pay now or receive now, you have to pay that money to the bank or receive money from the bank. If it says play when needed, you can basically put it in front of you and play it whenever you need to play that. Once you've played it, you can then return the card to the stack, to the back of the stack. And then you also have a play when needed. Now this is a very nice card. You also get a free game point token for this one. So for this card, you can basically just place it in front of you and take a game point token, and you place it on the place marker for the game point token in front of you. Very nice. Alright, so always remember, once you've entered a port, you need to pay port fees and receive a port card. Now just a fun rule to add to that. Let's say for instance I forgot to pay my port fees and I moved the roll action piece along, then another player can call me out and say, hey, you didn't buy berthing fees, and then I will have to pay my berthing fees to them instead of to the bank. So that's a bit of an incentive to remind each other to pay berthing fees. Cool, so that's port cards. So once I've finished rolling and I've passed the roll action piece along, hopefully this person would have bought and they can pass the buy along, and the bank also goes to the next person, and now I have the chance to sell. So it's always in the order of buy, roll, sell. So now I have the chance to sell, and I am currently in the blue port. So I say to the bank, Mr. Bank, I am now selling my blue container into the blue port, and I get money for that. So to see how much, I will look at the price ladder. I see I get 600 HP from the bank. So I would get 600 HP from the bank for selling my container into the port. Alright, so that money I can just place next to me. And that's my turn to sell. After I've sold, I can pass the action token up. So this circular movement of buy, roll, sell and bank will always carry on like that throughout the game. So each person has one action piece or action token to action on during that turn. And once they are done, they can just pass it along in an anti-clockwise fashion. So it's always buy, roll and then sell. Alright, so now I've explained how one voyage of a container ship will look like. Right, so now to explain how it works to buy some of the natural resources as in fish or oil. Let's say for instance we've got a couple of rounds and I've made enough money to buy myself a fishing vessel. So I would look at my player card and I would see a fishing vessel is 1000 HP for me. So I would pay 1000 HP to the bank, and in exchange for that I will get a game point token. So each time you buy a new ship you get a game point token. You place it on your player card and you place your fishing vessel, the ship you bought, into your port, onto one of the berthing spots or docking spots in your port. If your port is full, unfortunately you can't buy that turn, you'll have to wait another turn. But I've just bought my fishing vessel, so now when I have the chance to roll, then I can roll. I would roll the dice, and then with the number that I rolled I can now divide into all of my ships as well as the pirate ship. Just a note on sailing, if I'm sailing with the currents, so you'll see there are some arrows going anti-clockwise on the map, those are the currents. If I sail with the currents, I just take the number that I rolled. However, if I sail against the current, the ship will have to work a bit harder to sail against the current. So instead of a voyage that would only be 5 normally, would now need to be 7. So I would sail 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because I'm sailing against the current, it's more effort for the ship, and it would basically take an additional 2 moves to move from here to there. With the other moves, I can then again move my other ship. But for now, let's hold it there. So after another round, I would get the buy token again, and now I can buy a fish resource onto my ship. So I would look at the price on the price ladder, and I would see that it is 100 HP to buy a fish onto my ship. So I would pay the 100 to the bank and load 1 fish resource onto my fishing vessel. Alright. Then I'm done buying. During my turn to roll, next I would again roll and sail my fishing vessel back to the port. So again I rolled 12 and I can now go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and now I'm back in port. As soon as I enter a port, I would need to buy a port card. So I would pay 100 HP to the bank for docking fees, take my change and pick up a port card. Before I explain the port cards, let me just see what happens in port. So I'm in port now, and during my next turn I would like to sell. So during my turn to sell, I can then sell the fish resource into port for the amount displayed on the price ladder, and that's 500. So I would get 500 HP from the bank for that transaction. Alright, so quickly to explain the 2 other ships on the map. The Logos Hope ship. So I got the idea for this whole board game while I was working on the ship. So I thought, why not bring it into this game? So the Logos Hope ship basically travels from port to port, and then the crew members do outreaches, etc. while they are in port. They also invite the public onto the ship to view their bookstore on the ship. Cool, so in this game, if somebody rolls a double, let's say you roll a double 5, then the Logos Hope ship moves from that port into the next port. Alright? As in real life, the port hosting the Logos Hope ship would get some money. So in this game, 300 HP from the bank for hosting the Logos Hope ship. There we go. And the player receiving the Logos Hope ship can decide on which berth the Logos Hope should go. So once that person has decided to put the Logos Hope on that berth, for instance, then it should stay there until the next double is rolled, and then the Logos Hope ship will then move to the next port. Alright, so that's the Logos Hope ship. If, for instance, you roll a triple, so let's say a triple 5 is rolled, then the person rolling the triple can decide into which port they would like to send the Lagos Hope ship. But let's say, for instance, my port is already full. So I've got the fishing vessel there, someone else's ship there. So my port is full. Then I can't get the ship into this port. So I would need to give it to the next person, either to the previous person or anyone else. Cool, that's the Lagos Hope ship. Furthermore, to explain the pirate ship. So let's say, for instance, I rolled quite a low number and I only get to move my fishing vessel up to there. So it's still on my way into port. It's got a fish on it, but unfortunately I didn't make it back into port. That's fine, the game continues. Now let's say, for instance, the next person also rolled. They rolled a lot and they have moved all their ships as they wanted to, and now they've got some additional moves left over. Then they can choose to use those leftover rolls to move the pirate ship, and it would go like that. So for instance, from there it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the fifth move, they are now pirating my fishing vessel. So what would happen is the fish resources on my ship would go onto the next block or next placeholder on the price ladder. So my ship was pirated and the resource gets taken onto the price ladder. It's basically like supply and demand. If there's less supply of fish in the game, the price goes up. And then just to keep the rules constant, not to have two ships on the same block, I would then just bounce the pirate ship one back or one off. And that's the pirate move done, and the game continues as normal. The ship stays there, it's only the resource that gets taken to the price ladder. The pirate ship can pirate any of the three ships, so it can pirate a fishing vessel, an oil tanker, as well as a container ship, and all of those resources will then go to the price ladder.